Half in the bag. These jerks can't fix the VCR right.
Jesus Christ, it's like a chicken with his head cut off. Oh, thank Christ. Back to work. Oh. Lightning fast VCR repair, how can I help you?
Yes. Do you still fix VCRs?
Yes, we do. And no, our refrigerator isn't running. I stopped chasing it weeks ago.
Oh, good. Well, I have a broken VCR. My kids say that I should get a Blu-ray player, but I like all my tapes. Can you fix it?
Sure, we could fucking fix it. Do you have fucking money?
Well, yes. Do you make house calls?
Sure, we make house calls. Sometimes for a very long time. What's your address? We'll be over in 5 minutes.
Okay, good. I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye. Jay, get out of the bathroom. We got a job.
Come in. Are you the VCR repairman?
Well, it's questionable if I'm a man, but we do repair VCRs.
Great. There's my VCR.
What's the fucking problem with it?
Mike, what's with the swearing? Do you have fucking Tourette's?
No, fuck you, motherfucker.
It just stops working after 20 minutes, and it ejects the tape all by itself.
All by itself, you say? Have you consulted a priest? It's very likely that this VCR is possessed by a demonic entity, as seen in the current film Deliver Us from Evil.
Hey, Mike, it sounds like a faulty eject switch on the circuit board. That takes 5 minutes to repair.
Ma'am, it'll take 16 hours to fix this VCR.
Oh, well, what is your hourly rate?
$9,000 an hour.
Oh, you're being silly. I'll give you $20. I can pick up a working VCR at a thrift store for $5, but I like this one. My late husband gave it to me for my birthday in 1980.
Your late husband, you say? Have you considered the fact that it's his spirit trapped in that VCR? You know, ma'am, I happen to be a licensed exorcist, and for a nominal fee, I can exorcise his spirit from the VCR, sending him off into heaven, preventing his soul from being trapped and tormented in the depths of hell for eternity, as seen in the current film Tammy.
No, it's just that it's not working. I'm going to go to the market, and I'll be back in an hour, and I expect that VCR to be working. I would like to watch my tapes.
$20? This is bullshit.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned Deliver Us from Evil. You know, I saw that last night. Have you seen any other films?
Well, of course, Jay. I've seen The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
No, I meant recently.
Well, I've seen Deliver Us from Evil, but I've also seen Transformers 4 and The Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh my God, me too.
Well, Jay, I think we should talk about movies now.
Yeah, let's talk about movies before that mean old lady gets back.
Jay, are you saying you want to murder her?
Yes.
Hey, before we start talking about these movies, and before we fix her VCR, let's make long-distance phone calls on her telephone line. Hello, China? Yeah, I hear everyone there is watching Transformers 4. Yeah, can you guys stop watching our movies? You're ruining them. You're making us make bad movies. Okay, thanks. Bye. You know, that phone call just cost us 100,000 China bucks.
Did you just know that number off the top of your head?
It was my old cell phone number.
As a cop, I've seen some horrible things, but nothing that can't be explained by human nature.
Then you haven't seen True Evil.
The new film, Deliver Us from Evil, which is not to be confused with Deliver Us from Evil, Deliver Us from Evil, Deliver Us from Evil, Deliver Us from Evil, or Deliver Us from Eva, is based on real-life New York police detective Ralph Sarchie and his adventures in exorcism. The film is based on Sarchie's 2001 book called Beware the Night, which has nothing to do with the film at all. Sinister director Scott Derrickson helms the film, which stars Eric Bana and Aaron Rodgers' current girlfriend. Jay, we saw this movie, which you probably had no interest in seeing.
Well, that's the interesting thing. Normally, when we see a movie like this, it's you saying to me, Jay, why did we see this movie? Why did you make me see this movie? And this is the exact opposite. Mike, why did you make me see this movie?
Jay, I like the horror movies, particularly supernatural movies, movies about hauntings and exorcisms and demons and stuff like that. I can say with some certainty that I no longer like those movies.
You're talking about the ones that are based on true stories.
I have to say this movie ruined the based on actual events movies. I've been a sucker. I feel like someone who keeps going back to a carnival, to a carny, and keeps playing the same like ring toss game and losing, and then realizing that it's fixed. Because anything that has based on actual events now, 1% is based on actual events.
Yeah, well, I guess we can get into that with this movie, like what is and what isn't the true story of what happens. But the weird thing is, this is a January movie. This is a fuck you, it's January movie. I don't know what it's doing in the middle of summer with all these big blockbusters. Maybe like counter programming, they do that, but that's usually like romantic comedies and things like that. But this is definitely a fuck you, it's January movie. And it could have been hilarious if it wasn't so boring.
It was boring, and it did have unintentional comedic moments.
Yes.
I don't think blending a no-nonsense cop from the Bronx with The Exorcist is quite the best thing to do.
It has potential to be a great comedy, but unfortunately it falls flat.
Yes, especially when they're booking the possessed woman who looks like The Exorcist.
They're in this normal, bland police station, and they've got, Linda Blair in there just,
Do you know a man named Santino? That's right, Mick Santino.
Well, let's do a quick recap. I'm sure no one in the world wants to hear us talk about this movie, but we're going to do it real quick.
Okay.
So there's a police detective, his name's Ralph Sarchie, in real life.
Do you think he's related to Meyer Sarchie, the director of I Spit on Your Grave?
Was that a joke, or?
That's the director of I Spit on Your Grave. His last name is Sarchie. I'm just wondering if they're related.
No, he's not related to Ralph Cramden either. You fucking idiot. So Ralph Sarchie, he's a police detective, and he enjoys investigating paranormal things. And in real life, he befriended some kind of priest guy, and they went around and went to a couple exorcisms. And interestingly enough, I read that he was sort of tutored or instructed by Lorraine Warren, a world-famous demonologist. Her and her husband Ed Warren are demonologists.
The Conjuring couple.
The Conjuring couple, right. And I was like, oh, they're going to tie that in, you know. And Lorraine Warren is actually still alive. She's very, very old.
Yeah.
There's laws of attraction. And
she's almost half dead herself.
Oh.
I guess you could say she's part ghost. So maybe she haunts herself. But she's very old, but she's not dead yet. But they didn't include any of that in this film. And what they did include was a series of events And the storyline that I'm assuming was completely fabricated. I read some of the things that appeared in his book, and there were like different cases that had happened, and none of that was in the movie.
Okay.
The movie is about 3 U.S. soldiers in Iraq in 2010 who read a Latin phrase on the wall.
They go down the wrong cave, and there's a Latin phrase on the wall, and it makes them possessed by demons. And that's the plot of the movie. And then one of them goes to the Bronx Zoo for some reason and puts that phrase on a wall in the zoo in the lion's den, and a woman gets possessed from looking at it.
He's a painter. He's one of the soldiers, and he had read the phrase, so there's a demon in him. And then he goes to the zoo, and I guess maybe it was his job to paint the lion cage. But he was painting over his own graffiti, so that doesn't make sense. Never mind. So he writes this graffiti on the wall, the Latin phrase that when you read it, a demon comes in your body.
Apparently that's all it takes to get
That doesn't
possessed.
sound good. A demon should never be coming in your body. But listen, I think he waits there for the chance encounter of his friend's wife, who has her baby, to stop by the lion cage.
I guess he just assumed she would be at the zoo that day?
Maybe. And then she reads the phrase and instantly becomes a demon and throws her child over the edge.
Which is the most hilarious part of the movie.
Yeah. It sort of reminded me of that famous scene from The Happening.
Oh, yeah.
When Mark Wahlberg
the
watches
other
a lion.
lion, right?
He watches a lion attack on a cell phone.
And it looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie combines the worst traits of bad cliched cop movies with the worst traits of bad cliched exorcism movies.
Good description.
Which is just a recipe for a great film.
You think she's possessed? I'm sorry, Padre. She's going to the loony bin where she belongs.
My husband Jimmy sometimes has these fits where he claws at things.
I'm done with based on actual events movies. And I actually read an interview with the director, Scott Derrickson, who also directed a movie called The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh yeah, which is a much better movie.
Much better movie, which generally isn't like demons are real, they're here and they're jumping off buildings and they're, in the zoo, controlling lions. Is this woman actually possessed or does she have a mental illness? And that's like kind of like a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
And the director actually said, when we put the phrase based on actual events, we made $200 million more than we anticipated.
Oh.
Because suckers like me see based on actual events and go, oh. And like The Conjuring was based on actual events. That wasn't actually a good movie.
Yeah.
But it was from the secret case files from Lorraine Warren, where she went on this investigation, and none of that shit happened.
Right.
The table moved an inch, and they heard a voice.
But here's the thing,
you
know going into these movies, they're going to be severely changing the story completely. So why have you made it this far before giving up? I would be fine with this movie. I don't care if it's based on a true story. I am not interested in that type of stuff in real life. But if it was a good, entertaining movie in its own right, I don't care how much they change from what supposedly really happened. But this is just a crappy movie.
It's strictly, at this point, strictly marketing based on actual events. Ooh, it'll get more money in. And
then you have people leaving the theater saying, that really happened.
You have a lot of dummies leaving the theater saying that really happened. But what gives them the right to completely fabricate and over-exaggerate a paranormal story when they don't completely over-exaggerate a based on actual events real story? I mean, some of them are.
I wonder why they even bothered taking elements of a real life thing. Like, just make any generic horror movie and just say based on real events. Why not?
They probably do at this point.
Actually, you know what? They did that with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Michael Bay produced remake. They said inspired by real events, which is, it was a remake of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which had minor elements that were based on Ed Gein. So it's like, how many degrees are we removed from this? And just call it whatever.
But yeah, you're right. Based on actual events. And then you're like, oh, is this a real story?
They should start doing that with other genres too, like sci-fi alien invasion movies. Just say based on real events. Why not?
I was thinking about real movies like Monster.
Oh, Monster, yeah.
Yeah, that or like Boys Don't Cry, like the story, was it Brendan Tina, right?
I don't know the person's
transgendered
name.
person that was murdered. And just start adding like helicopter explosions and car chases, and I want to see Brendan Tina driving a semi, like running over people, and
As bigoted rednecks chase her down with a truck.
Chaser, and then they jump on the roof of the truck as it's moving, and they have a sword fight. And then just say based on actual events.
Yeah.
The real story is this person was murdered by bigots.
Yeah.
But add some she has to defuse a nuclear bomb at the end.
Something's happening out there. Something I don't understand.
Your investigation puts you and your family in danger.
I heard scratching noises under the floor in her room.
Scratching noises?
Silence is always scarier than loud noises. And the end of this movie is the typical exorcism scene, and it gave me a headache. It was just like constant shouting, and then the doors were blaring, and the demon guy is like biting his leg, and it's just so obnoxious.
If I can just say one nice thing about the movie, I didn't mind the exorcism scene in the end, because there was some mild explanation of what was happening by the priest.
Sure.
And he's like, this is step one, this is step two. And then all the things were right, like he had to get the demon, you have to have the demon tell you his name, and that gets you to the next step. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But none of that shit fucking happened.
Did he really have a wisecracking comedy sidekick partner?
Probably not. Ralph Sarchi was probably a big fat guy who, I'm gonna go to a ghost hunt.
Because that kept taking me out of the movie too, because that character is played by Joel McHale from the show Community, which was a great show, and then it wasn't a very good show, and then it became an
I didn't
okay
ask you to
show.
talk about Community.
But no, there's a point to this. Because on Community, they often do parodies of sort of specific styles or genres of TV and film. So whenever he had a line in this movie, it felt like he was doing that, like a parody of.
There was an actual show called Paranormal Cops.
Really?
And it failed as miserably as this movie did because you can't mix cops and ghosts. It was Chicago police officers that were cops by day and paranormal investigators by night.
I'm Sergeant Ron Fabiani, and I started the Chicago Paranormal Detectives with some of my fellow police officers.
The one guy, he had the Chicago accent.
Was this a reality show?
It was a reality show.
Okay.
Yeah. He had a thick, like super fan. We're from Chicago, Polish sausage, like.
Well, they did that with this movie too, with all the New York accents.
It's like, tell me about your ghost problem. What you got ghosts? Do they like sausage? And it was like.
This sounds kind of
great. So
great.
the chair moved a little. That's more New York, but I can't do a Chicago accent for some reason right now.
All right, where's the excitement, guys? Bring it on.
What was that? Someone whipped a rope across a door or a belt. What is that? Oh.
I'm done. Just write not based on actual events on your poster and I'll go watch it.
So Mike, would you recommend Deliver Us from
Jay, I would not. Unless you want to catch a nap. I don't have to ask you.
Nope.
All right.
Mommy.
I'm gonna tell you a story. At first, it's gonna sound ridiculous. But the longer I talk,
We have to find the keys.
the more rational it's going to appear.
I can't believe you found coffee.
Sugar, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. 3. You like 3.
How many times have we been here? How many times?
Tom Cruise stars in The Edge of Tomorrow, which tomorrow will be on the edge of leaving theaters. In the film, the real-life insane closeted gay cultist stars as Nicolas Cage, a man who inherits the power to repeat the same day over and over again after being killed by a special type of alien. Will Tom Cruise save the human race again? Will he do it again in his next film? What will satisfy his massive ego? Tom, movies aren't real. You're just a fraud actor. Mike, what did you think of Edge of Tomorrow?
Jay, Edge of Tomorrow was great. Definitely the best movie I've seen in a long time.
Best movie of this type. Best sort of big budget, sci-fi, action, explosion
without
movie.
a doubt. Yeah, maybe even crossing over into other genres too for me, where just I loved it all around. I don't have anything bad to say about it, really. Other than I would have preferred, I like Tom Cruise well enough. I think he did a fine job in this, but had there been a different lead, I think I would have enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, he always does a fine job, but whenever I watch a movie with him, it's just, I see Tom Cruise, I don't see a character.
Yeah.
And especially this character, because he's sort of, when it starts out, he's like a cocky, he's trying to avoid, taking on any sort of responsibility. He actually has a character arc, which is nice for this type of movie. We don't see those anymore. But yeah, a more interesting, charismatic, kind of snarky actor would have been better for the part.
And so his character, he's the like the press secretary guy for the war effort. He's a military officer, but he's not a combat guy.
Right.
And then I saw him, and he looks like a combat guy. He looks like a decorated officer.
Yeah.
And he's like, all of a sudden, he's this coward. And I'm like, I wanted an actor like the guy who's in District 9, like more of a goofier character. Tom Cruise is just like officer and a gentleman, Tom Cruise. And I'm like, oh, he's a coward? He doesn't look like one. He looks like
Action Man.
He looks like Action Man. And so the casting wasn't right. And I'm sure the casting is him saying, I want to make this movie. It's my movie, you know, that sort of thing.
But that's all you can really say that's bad about it. It's a shame, too, that this movie, I guess, hasn't done very well. Because this, to me, is, people like to use the term popcorn movie, and they use it as an excuse for watching shit.
We make popcorn movies. We love popcorn movies.
Like people say, like, Transformers 4, I know it's gonna be bad, but it's just a popcorn movie. I just wanna go see some action. But this is a popcorn movie in the best possible way, where it's not a deep movie or anything, but it's entertaining, it's a story well told, the action is good, and it doesn't insult your intelligence.
Yeah, and it's a witty script. There's a lot of humor in it, which I'm told is the result of Tom Cruise pushing for more humor in the movie.
Oh, really? I do think it starts stronger than it ends. Like towards the end, the action, it gets a little like, we have to accomplish this thing, and it just becomes a little more routine. But by that point, you like the characters, you like the story, so it's not, it doesn't feel like you're just waiting for the movie to end. Like a lot of these movies, like get on with it, get to the end action scene. And this has sort of a typical conclusion as far as the way they have to solve the problem that they're in without giving too much away. But the rest of the movie's so well told, it doesn't, it feels like a satisfying conclusion as opposed to just a routine one, if that makes sense.
You do know what's happening to me.
What happened to you happened to me. You hijacked their power.
How do I control it?
You have to die. Every day. Keep coming here and I'll train you.
I had the same reaction that I think most people did. You see Tom Cruise in battle armor shooting guns, and you go, oh.
Yeah, well, and also I saw in the trailer the armor, and I was thinking of that Elysium movie.
Exactly.
And it just looked like a lot of the other movies that are coming out right now.
Right.
Which is unfortunate because it's so much smarter and better than those.
Yeah, and Oblivion wasn't terrible, but
Oblivion lacked any sort of personality of its own, and that's what this movie had. It had a distinct personality, and it was fun. Movies aren't fun anymore. And
no,
this is
they're not.
Like when you see Transformers 4 and you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I guess we'll go see that. I did like that sort of playful element of the way they explain the aliens are on Earth. We don't really know what they want. They just invade planets. And they sort of brush it off. It kind of reminded me of Looper. There's that scene in Looper when they're in the diner and they're talking about time travel. And he's like, look, we could go into how convoluted time travel is, but it doesn't matter. There's time travel. And they had a scene like that in this, where Tom Cruise is in a bar and there's all these old people talking about like why the aliens are there, and he's like, what does it matter? Yeah. So I thought that was a nice touch, because ultimately that's not what the story is about. So I thought that was a clever way to incorporate that and acknowledge that, this is the type of thing you see in these movies. Doesn't matter.
Your leg's broken.
No, I'm good.
Then you better start over.
Oh, come on. I'm not a soldier.
Of course you're not. You're a weapon.
It had a balance of not taking itself completely seriously, some levity in it, but at the same time, you felt like there was a lot at stake.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete farce or anything.
Right. You don't want too much humor and you don't want it to be too serious. This, you felt the stakes, you felt the threat, and but at the same time, it allowed itself to have fun with the material.
I would say that's an element the movie didn't need, was the love story angle. It was kept to a minimum anyway, but like it would have been nice if it didn't have that at all. It was just Emily Blunt was badass, they worked together, and then that's it.
I think they shoved in all the elements but did it perfectly in just the right amounts. And I was fine with the little love plot with those two. That probably would happen. Who couldn't fall in love with beautiful Tom Cruise? Jay, I'm in love with Tom Cruise.
Oh no. Oh no.
Crushed it. Crushed it.
Great action movie. It's amazing what they can do with computers.
I would say the action, there's a little too much of the close-up shaky cam stuff in this. I think that's just the aesthetic of action movies now, like in general, and I just don't like it. I like the camera being back and you can see what's happening. Everything's, I mean, there's war, so I guess that makes sense, but more so than some other action movies, but.
Did you think it was dumb, this giant, intelligent alien brain to bury itself underneath the Louvre, a glowing pyramid target instead of inside of a mountain where no one could get to you? Who directed this?
Doug Liman.
Oh yeah.
Who started with Swingers.
Yeah.
Way back when. So I think he's done some other action movies. I don't know what else he's done. I haven't seen any of them.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah. But he's a solid director for this type of movie.
I always wonder, like you hear like these directors like that.
Yeah.
And then you see these movies and they're just like these amazing action movies. Like, remember when Steven Spielberg was like the action director? Does somebody else come in and direct all these action scenes? Like, how does Doug Liman know how to put together a scene of such complexity with visual effects?
I don't know.
She smiled, baby. I can't believe what an asshole you are. No, baby, she smiled. She was smiling at what an asshole you are. No. She was smiling at how money I was.
Well, going back to Swingers, Jon Favreau too. Like he directed the Iron Man movies, and I think that's like similar to this, where the movie feels like it has a little bit more personality than these movies.
Yeah.
You take these guys that do these lower budget movies, character-driven movies, and they can work in all the elements that these bigger movies are supposed to have, but they're still sort of focused on character and focused on performance.
They want to conquer the rest of the world. Unless you change the outcome.
We are not equipped for what's out there.
So, Mike, would you recommend Edge of Tomorrow?
Absolutely. Fantastic movie.
Unfortunately, I think we have to recommend it as a rental.
Yeah.
It's practically out of theaters already.
If you have a chance to see this movie on the big screen.
Yeah, we had a hard time finding a theater that was still playing it. It had like 2 showtimes the day we went and saw it. They had to push it out for 8 different screens that were playing the other film we saw. Which was Transformers: Age of Extinction.
I'm gonna ask you this once. Where is Optimus Prime?
You know, we got a rule about messing with people from Texas.
So, Jay, what did you think of Transformers 4?
Oh my God, it was 3 hours long. The story didn't make any sense. I couldn't tell any of the robots apart, and it was just lots of loud, obnoxious noise.
So, Jay, would you recommend Transformers 4?
Absolutely not. Mike, would you recommend Transformers 4?
Oh, God, no. Share fitness, a new attitude? Jim Barton's The Job Interview and You. Mail to the Chief starring Randy Quaid?
Oh my God, my hamster loves that video.
Sheesh, it's no wonder this lady's VCR was ejecting these tapes all by itself. These movies stink.
Yeah, well, the last tape was in there for over 30 minutes, so I think it's okay now.
Hello, boys. How's the fixing coming?
Oh, just great. We actually just finished it.
Everything's working fine.
Oh, well, I do appreciate your hard work and your honesty. I have to put these things away before they melt. So please show yourself out. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Huh. Well, I guess we fixed the VCR.
Yeah, so now we leave?
I think, yeah, this is the part where we leave.
Oh, okay.
It's so weird.
This is weird.
You're right, Jay. Usually when we go to fix a VCR, something strange happens.
Yeah, this was just like a normal business transaction.
Nothing weird happened at all.
Well, I guess let's head back.
All right. Damn it! We were too late to assassinate our past selves.
The time vortex is unpredictable. They could have left hours ago.
Damn it! Looks like we repaired the VCR already.
Our only option is to destroy the tape then. When Carol watches that old sci-fi film, she gets intrigued by human genetics, which causes her to invest in a fledgling company called Biotron.
And Biotron becomes so successful and Carol so wealthy that she's appointed the CEO. Under her leadership, Biotron then begins their horrible human genetics experimentations.
Which creates the first army of super soldiers, leading to the great eugenics war of 2035.
Billions dead. I've seen so much. Wait, why are we telling each other this? We already know all this information. What is this, X-Men Days of Future Past? Fuck it. Jay, we've got to find that tape and destroy it. Humanity is counting on us. Is this it? It's in this cookie jar. It's in this cookie jar. I know it. I know it. I know it. Oh, shit.
It wasn't in the cookie jar.
Keep looking! Maybe it's in the couch. Under the couch. Look under the couch.
Damn it! It's not here.
Fuck!
It must be somewhere else.
Hey, wait. Why don't we just kill Carol instead?
Oh yeah, that's a much better idea.
It is done, dear leader.
Excellent future Mike and Jay. I would assume that my past self is unharmed and that the timeline protected.
Yes, my queen. All sectors of the new United Territories bow to your power.
Oh, you two have done well. Since your re-education, you have been two of my most loyal sellouts. When the new age is upon us, you will be spared from vaporization.
Thank you, my queen.
Return to the future, and prepare for the next phase of the great eugenics war.
Yes, my queen.